IVM.
कृपया ध्यान दीजिए, the language used on the podcast may not be fit for consumption. We warn you, tread carefully. But listen yaar, don't be so conservative.
It's time to give up, folks. It's time to tell the truth and just expect whatever we expected not to happen. I've decided we must accept our fate, and I'm double meaning here: FATE as well as FAITH. What are we going to do with this COVID? Researched it. It's just not going anywhere. Some are saying it's the milder form. Don't worry. Some are saying it's Delta Part 2, 2B. And, you have to be really worried because that was the worst. Some are talking in France. They've exposed new viruses mutating left, right, and center, like India's population in the 90s or China's population in the last century. Having come to a conclusion about all this, there doesn't seem to be a proper answer or solution. So let's accept that there isn't one. Since there isn't one, we have to leave science in the back burner, throw it away, and go to the one thing that has kept this country going. The one thing that keeps us as a nation happy and humorous to some extent, and that is pujas. I don't mean the girl next door. I mean actual pujas. We need to get religion involved. Religion has to save us. I am starting a pro-COVID movement where we show respect to COVID and we do pujas, darshan, sacrifices if need be. You can let go of one relative per family. What's the big deal? And make sure that we appease and assuage and tell great COVID to leave us alone now. Let's try that route. We've tried to destroy this vaccine, this, that, and the other. It's not really working beyond a point. It's too macro, this fight. So let's turn to spirituality and let's ask the powers above, below, or on the left or right. No political double meaning there, to help us. So all those who are willing to join, please in our chat tell us you're ready to put your hand up and join the puja brigade. We will devise the puja according to secular traditions where every religion of the world will be accepted. You'll all get one thing to do in this. I'm just calling it loosely puja. Amit and Silverie on this Cock and Bull edition will give me better terms because I want everyone to be happy. Let's not politicize the whole issue. Let's look at saving the world through something else because science is failing and so is logic.
Are you looking for finance products and services that can enhance your personal finance experience? Are you looking for a space to talk about your financial product or service? And are you looking for a crisp talk show where the conversation is all about money? Well, your search ends here. Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta and I'm host of the Paisa Vaisa podcast, and I invite you for the conversation about your personal finance on each Monday on the IVM podcast app or the website or on any podcast streaming platforms. See you folks.
Here is Silverie, our producer, live, a word I shouldn't use too much, from Powai.
Your anthem will have to be Go Corona, Corona, Go, right? That'll be your anthem for that religion.
He's our mascot. I won't take names. He's our mascot.
Yeah,
You're spot on.
correct.
We'll keep him if he's willing to come.
Exactly
In
what
fact, he was the first guy. You guys will not remember, or you may, 2020, the Chinese ambassador to India or a high-ranking diplomat and him, they sang. They did a puja of sorts and they sang. It was an appeasement song. So there was a movement to go that direction. And then we cut it with your science and your facts and mask and vaccine. Not working. God will save us. Amit Doshi, the rationalist, the last word on spirituality. What do you think?
I'm just assuming you're joking, right? Because you just said science is not to save us. The very same science that basically put a vaccine in all of our hands in like within a year, that science is not going to save us. So sure, man, I'm just assuming that there is.
I have a huge personal issue, Amit, which is lockdown blues. Okay. So you know when you're conditioned from childhood to get upset over traffic, for example, in our case, again, going on the elite way, whatever it is. No, I'm saying that the problem is the moment the lockdown is on the horizon, somewhere in the back burner there, in the background, what have you, I then get that terrible feeling inside my body of loss, of pain, of angst, of stress. And now I'm in that, have you been doing it? I've been researching every free minute about corona, about COVID, about symptoms, about this third version, second version, first version. I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? I can't take it anymore. Just when we thought it was, November, December was sort of going on towards the sidelines and we weren't talking about it so much, it's back in your face. That's my problem.
So I hear what you're saying, but lockdowns are a political problem, not a science problem, right? It was a science problem or it was a science solution before vaccines. Now that you have vaccines, lockdowns are political and it's about politicians scoring points with certain constituencies, right? There's no.
But why are you so anti-puja? What have you got to lose? I'm saying light one diya. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, I can light a diya, I can bang a thali, I can do all of it, right? But I don't know how helpful any of that is going to be. I think it's much more helpful when people stay at home. Or
You
when people decide
cynical
to, yes,
satirist. Huh.
while I'm saying I don't agree with lockdowns, right? I do think that people should be cautious, right? Right now in our space, what have we done? What have we done? I think yesterday there were like 6 people in office. We've kept office open because one realization is there that a lot of people have really small places to live, right? And so they need a place to work, right? So keeping office open is, I think, essential. But at the same time, everybody has the option work from home if you want to. Nobody is being asked to come to office at all right now.
I was watching
So,
what is that show where with the entrepreneurs making money, Shark Tank, and
Shark Tank.
Kevin O'Leary talking about how he learned a lesson from his employees during this last 24 months almost. What am I saying? 12 months. Folks, we're going to have 2 year celebration in a month or so. And he was talking about how he learned a lot from the fact that people would come up to him and say that now we've realized we can work from home. So in America, it's a little
mhm.
different from here. I would say, just hear me out. In America, a lot of people thinking, oh God, maybe we can go back home. So this one guy said, I grew up on a farm. I'm an accountant. I'll do all your work. I want to work for you, but I will stay on my farm now. I want to get that back, and I want to look after my parents. They see blood in him, obviously, somewhere 5 to 10%. So they are getting a revival of, hey, there's more to our life than work. We urban Indians, I'm talking about, and especially those who are lesser equipped financially, there's a big fear of loss of everything if there's no office open. It's a different thinking space altogether from the average middle class American, if that's the right word.
This is what I would say is different, right? In both of these situations, I think there are a lot of companies in India which are promoting a lot of remote hiring as well right now, right? In the sense that why pay Bombay rents if it makes no difference to your job? This is typically happening in things where it's not where the work is less collaborative, right? Where everybody has their own things that they need to go off and do on their own for a certain period of time. Where things are more collaborative, right? Where you need to have meetings and stuff like that, where you need to talk to people, where like it's teamwork oriented, right? Much more. I think in those situations, work from home, even in the US, is not really going to fly forever. Right. I think that, yeah, we have realized that you don't have to come to office every day, but you do need to come to office a lot.
No, I'm not talking about the. You're looking more at the materialistic situation. I'm talking about what the people are feeling inside psychologically. So psychologically, their need to be in the office, they realize is not that important, and it's
Yeah.
a sense of fulfillment that they're not. While for us, and pardon me for saying this, but the people who listen to this show are not really those people because they're probably MBAs and doctors and engineers, and that's another world in India. And again, then that gives you the closer world to the American middle class. But as you go down the financial ladder, unfortunately, a lot of people are desperate. That majburi feeling is there, that helplessness, and they want that office door that Amit Doshi is keeping
Yeah.
open, so they feel self-worth, self-esteem, and the fact that maybe there's hope or light at the end of this tunnel, which is a different feeling. So we've got it's like a mix of all this happening in India. I'm saying, as against other more homogeneous societies where it's going in one direction more or less. So they are learning more about themselves.
I think it's more it's actually, so I was talking, I look at our office and I look at what people want to do here, but also talking to a few friends, a lot of whom, like, one of them runs a digital influencer agency type thing. Another guy runs so I mean, like, all in these kinds of more digitally spaces, right? Finance, this kind of stuff, right? And one of the common things that we realize, right, is young employees, particularly in India, most of them, our living situations are different, especially if you're living in Bombay. The number of people who rent their own space and then go to work, compared to the number of people who live with parents or live with roommates or live with this, right? Cost of real estate, right? All of that is such that it's really tough to work at home, much more so than it is for me, honestly. I was fine working at home for most of the stuff that was to be done because I have my own space, right? I have my own room. I have a, like, it is
No,
it's a
and you
problem
made
for
it
a lot
into
of
an
people.
office because you forced me to come to your space. I would come there, and then if you left the room for 2 minutes, I would be without Wi-Fi, or I'd have pressed some button. So I have memories of that. So in that sense, in a sense, you still were open. You were still open to people
Yeah.
coming, but for you, it's a
Yeah.
different story altogether because you got that responsibility factor in your head. So you got to make that call. Where is the line? Where does the graph join at a point where you have to decide real fear and versus commerce, or self-esteem and self-worth feelings, or because they're important, all these things. But I just want to mention that young is relative, Amit, when you throw young out there, because
Uh,
there's young and there's really young. That also affects how you think about coronavirus, because you're thinking only about yourself primarily when you're just like in your 20s, and when you're thinking in your 30s, you start thinking about everybody around you a lot. But the empathy level, I would think with age sometimes gets a little better. At least I think from life in college, or your life in college, I'm presuming we didn't really think beyond our little world. And now, of
it
course,
was
yeah, yeah, it's
it was a
painful.
different
If
world.
you grow up
Yeah, it
faster
was.
than the next generation, you
But
suck, next
I think
generation. making fun of us, you're now suffering and growing up faster.
No, but I'll tell you another thing that really helps, right? The fact that when we're in office, and again, we had probably about a month of time where we had like 25, 30 people in the office, right, every day. And it was great for many of them because the thing is that also, and Antariksh, maybe you can speak to this a little bit, right? But I feel like
Yeah.
one of the things that used to happen with a lot of the producers who work with us, right? I never had one-on-one time with any of them over the entire 1.5 year pandemic that we had. I didn't know any of them at
Yeah.
all because I'd only ever meet them in meetings with three other people, right? But while we were in office, I spoke to a lot of them,
Were they females? Maybe there's a reason.
but male, female. Sure. Okay.
Ignore,
But
carry on. Yeah.
yes, okay, yes. But the point being that I mean, like, the idea that you can talk, understand more about what we're doing, have like more deeper discussions and stuff like that. I feel like that is something that only happens in office. I don't feel like that happens when you do the remote thing, right? And I mean, like they talk about this, right? The lack of mentorship and stuff like that that occurs for junior employees, especially in a work from home situation.
No, but you explained it actually correctly, I think, because when there's a collaborative, and at the end of the day, yours is both creative and marketing is also creative in a sense. It's not like it's not. So when you need that, and you've got a new product, it's a new product. The podcasts are new, everything is new about it. So the whole collaborative and collective effort that you're getting and energy that you're getting sometimes may not be matched by single. They can, of course, come up with great ideas, but possibly you're feeding more energy into the room with the collective. I totally get
Yeah.
that. But when you think of accountants, there are certain people who can actually do their work. It's just numbers. He needs his computer and he needs to look at the files. That's it. So technically,
But
there's a cubicle which is unnecessary in a sense. Why do you
so
need him there? What?
I would disagree with that because when it comes to finance and accounting, I'll tell you why. Right, when it comes to finance and accounting, a company like ours, I disagree. I don't know that this is true for everywhere, right? But a
No,
company like
please.
ours, 90% of the work that the finance team is doing, not 90%, but a lot of it requires confirmation from different people. Now, this confirmation takes 2 minutes to get. Right? That hey, what was this expense for? Was it for this show? Was it for this thing? Was it for this thing? Right? It takes 2 minutes to get that, but she needs to talk to like eight different people to get those things on a regular basis, right? And these are 2 minute conversations. If she were to schedule all of these as calls with people, right, everything would be half an hour. She'd get nothing done. It would be I think it matters.
One email with six pointers saying X, Y, Z questions to be answered. That's it. Why is it so difficult? See,
Yeah,
when you're
but
talking
again,
about the
that's
creative process, where you, Silvery, and three other people are sitting around thinking, what can we do with Cyrus' show? How do we make it better, brighter, reach younger people, whatever? That's a different process altogether. Now, I'm just
it,
saying, this is like black and white for me. You've got figures to be answered, and he's got to give you numbers.
it is and it isn't, right? I mean, like
Or she.
the no, I mean, like in the sense that the written communication in India is hard for a lot of people. Let's be this, right? In English, for a lot of people, yeah, dude, business right. When I did my reviews, the number one thing that I gave for people on the non-production side as a piece of
But
feedback
that's
is
also, I mean,
take a
it's a
business
lack of
writing
discipline.
course.
But
No,
they've got their correcting,
they
autocorrect, and all kinds of
they
things available. It's also
no,
people
no, no,
not
no, no,
being a
no,
little
no.
lazy.
It's not just lazy. Also, dude, here's the thing. This is a question that takes 3 seconds for somebody to answer. Writing an email takes 20 minutes to do for people who are not that. The
That's
business
true.
writing is it's a it was a thing
WhatsApp.
that I literally I put it in like 10 different reviews that you must take a business writing course.
So, Sylvie, did you take a business writing course? Sitting at frigging home in between the pandemics, during pandemic, ke baap, beta, it doesn't bother you. You're back with mommy's cooking. Hey, by the way, do your parents put? He's on mute. Thank God. No, this contribution will be
Yeah,
even
mommy's
less.
cooking is great. Mommy's cooking
No,
is
but tell
great.
me one
Yes.
thing. Honestly, tell us. Do the parents put pressure? I was wondering about this also because now you and I, we live in families with people. Amit is basically mom and him, so he can sort of the dynamic is in his control. But we people come and go. Do they say? Because initially I used to get a lot of flack about where you're going, on my mother especially. What do they say about you when the fear factor starts mounting again? This is the third time we're having this fear factor psychosis.
Yep, correct. She also starts. My mom starts saying that, "अरे क्यों जाता है ऑफिस? इतना ओमिक्रॉन चल रहा है, ओमिक्रॉन चल रहा है, घर पे ही रहे."
पैसा मत कमाओ, बाप के पास बहुत
I
है.
mean,
I
like
mean,
that,
this is
like
typical
work from
of the
home kind
rich.
of thing, man. It's just
Yeah.
parents, because my parents are like, my mom's already gotten COVID. My dad had suspected COVID in the middle, like just a couple of weeks back. It wasn't that. He just had like a severe stomach infection. But basically, yeah. So the paranoia is still high, man, in the family. Is this what it is?
So I think if that's let's say Silvery as a run-of-the-mill employee, no, not in a bad way, but let's say conventional employee, let's say, so that in every and since we mostly live with families, except those who are migrants, and then they are, but even they might be living with paying guests with
They
three,
live with
four to
roommates.
a
Yeah,
place,
roommates.
roommates.
Yeah,
So it
man.
comes to the same thing. So they've got to answer to that as well. So we've got that problem. So I don't know, Amit,
It's
how you're going to play it out in the end.
I
Yeah.
mean, it's open for people to come if they want to. If they want to work from home, they can work from home.
In the last week of December, or just before that, people were asking me about the podcast, and I was saying, now January, I think there's going to be a real surge by us to try and go to the studio at least for
Mhm.
this cock and bull session, and the
Yeah.
odd guest
Yep.
would come. I'm presuming there are also guests who are quite fearless, and we would start with that, and that would give us a certain amount of change in the show from just being on the comp. But now Amit is doing this is show. By the way, our
I think
show
he's
is the
telling them to
only
stop
podcast.
construction work.
No. Ours is the only podcast where people who, if they're affected by speech and can't hear, I don't want to use politically correct terms, they can also understand what's going on. From time to time, Amit explains the entire thing with his hands, and that's fabulous. That sensitivity to,
Wow,
I mean,
that's so well done.
milk of human kindness for me. That we really think for everybody and everything. Honestly,
Yeah.
that's fabulous. But okay, I think we've exhausted this topic about Corona. It's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Yes.
Sadly, can't believe it, guys. 2 years.
2 years. So I have this topic which is Corona related, but very interesting and very inspirational in a way. Okay. This is out of Trivandrum in Kerala. And basically, this man by the name of Shafi Vikraman has gotten 145 degrees in the lockdown during the
Wow.
pandemic. This person got signed up for online courses, like 20 online courses in one
You
go. He would do.
What kind of degrees
Okay.
would that include? 145. I'm just thinking like
Yeah, that's
bakery
what
and
I'd
stuff.
These
like
are
to
certifications.
understand.
These are not
Hmm?
like proper like 2 year
Okay.
degrees. These are
Diplomas,
certifications,
more
diplomas. Yeah,
diplomas.
diploma degrees. Yeah,
No, they're not. They're not even diplomas. They're certificates.
certifications.
So this is
So
I just
because
start my own course and give you a certificate at the end of
no,
it.
no, no.
Uh,
But these are like certifications from Yale and Columbia and Princeton and
oh,
universities like that.
then they have to be taken not so lightly.
But the thing is, like, he's doing like 2 day courses, 2 month courses. That's the extent of the courses he was doing.
That's why I want to know what the subjects are. 2 day courses.
Finance, robotics, AI, psychology, F&B management.
Robotics in 2 days. Finance in 2 days.
No, must be 2 months. No,
Which country is
two
this?
days, 2 months. That's the stretch. There's a period.
There are a lot of these seminars available, right? Courses that you can take, which like some of them are they run for 6 weeks, but they'll be like every weekend you have to take a session and you have to submit one assignment a week. So there are this, right? It's possible. It's not impossible, but it's insane. 148 in 2 years is kind of I don't know what to make of that.
Yeah, I'm
It's
just.
just commendable, I would say. This
No,
person also gave up his like actual job. He had a job as a manager or something somewhere, and he gave that up to study.
I feel that on the negative side, on the broadsheet, he's probably not that great a communicator and socially active person. Because I'm thinking if he was spending your whole life just trying to get the next degree and the next degree, he's not really into
Oh, man.
WhatsApp or Insta.
Uh,
Guys, I'm outside the railway station
yeah,
having a vada
absolutely.
pav. He's not doing
Yeah.
any of that, and he's not doing what Amit does, devouring
He's
books or engineering websites, which lonely men in Malbahil like him and me go to. So that's another
Yes.
side. It's interesting that, but in a sense, I guess it's a positive energy that's there in him. Like, wow, let me do something. It's a bit like when we spoke to Vijay Subramaniam yesterday. There's certain entrepreneurs, certain people, they just deal with adversity very well. I love to see the psychological side of that, where they don't ever take a back foot. It's like, okay, this is it. Let's do what we can. They have that sort of mindset, which is really good. I really like that. So in a
Yeah,
sense,
I agree
he
with that.
picks it up and yeah. So he says, I'll get 145, 148 degrees. And I don't know what he's going to do with it.
But
And what about a degree in parking in traffic here in Mumbai? How long would that
yeah,
take?
so
2 days to 2 months.
this is what I kind of I don't- like again. It's an achievement. I'm not trying to deny or not trying to denigrate the achievement, but isn't it the same as like degree chasing? Isn't it like symptomatic of like this whole the whole like obsession that is
It's like
there?
bodybuilding. There's a vanity and narcissism factor clearly in
Yeah,
it
I mean
because,
it is that, right?
but
It's
let's
like
not degrade him because he's
maybe
not a
he just
criminal.
likes to learn and
This is
study. I mean,
if these are your hobbies, I'm thinking
yeah,
let it be.
but
We can't expect more from humanity. Come on.
no, but I mean, like we use this statement somewhat sarcastically, right? Certificate mil gaya na, like somewhat, you got we use this, we say this somewhat sarcastically, fairly regularly, that hey, I have a certificate of this, or I mean, like this is like that taken to
He's
the nth
he's
degree.
Sharma ji ke bete ke father. Did you read that? Did you read that?
Sharmaji's son is still
I saw
studying.
that.
Like one of those.
Yeah.
He's never stopped studying his entire life.
Amazing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
whatever makes you happy, I suppose. If that's what his thing, that's his
Yeah.
thing. Goes back to Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. You got to find your thing. Your thing is absurd to somebody else, but if you really like your thing, it just keeps you going. It really is great to have something that just your engine starts running because of it. So I mean, I actually envy people like that because
Yeah, no, I don't
no,
know,
they
man. I mean, like if let's say again, I don't know who this guy is. I don't know anything about him, right? But to me, I mean, like this is I don't know, man. I just find like this kind of
No, for you,
pursuit,
it's an
right?
unreal meaning in life. Is for you, it's an unreal meaning. I get that, but you're not. You can't empathize correctly with this guy because we can't. This
Yeah.
is an eccentric side to a person, but that eccentric side is a real side. It's not a fake side. So that eccentric side is feeding his need to feel good about himself, his self validation, and everything else. So while it does that, it's doing more good than bad for him. But for us, it's just ludicrous after a point because what do you? And we find out what the degrees are. We wish we had the names. I mean, if it's how to put a ladder on a terrace or something is a degree. I mean, they could. You'll be surprised at what they do.
I
Seven
know.
steps to a better you is not a friggin' diploma. I mean, with due love and respect to Jordan Peterson, the moment I see the number on the book thing, I'm like, really? You bring it down to 9 steps, 4 steps, 2 ways, 16 ways to find your lover, 43 ways to become a multimillionaire. I mean, come on! If it was that simple, why do we waste our time? Give me a book and just send my kid to read it in the library, and he's done. No more education, no more anything else. So, but look, like I said, in the times of pandemic, people who have hobbies, who have strong relations and connections with things, whether it's the NBA or cricket or your hairstyle or whatever. And again, you cannot belittle that person. That person's connection is his own. For us, it's absurd.
Yeah, I agree. It's just I wonder at the utility of it, right? I mean, like while I'm not
It's stupid. It's
because
frankly
it's
stupid.
yeah, it's like taking something which has utility, getting certificate courses and something like that,
Also,
and turning to the absurd degree where it is now kind of turned into a I don't know. Again,
in a conversation, it sounds great. Okay, 145 degrees, because we, the middle classes that we are, in our minds, the degree is always like MBA or double MBA or MBBS or those kind of things, IIT engineering. It's not that. He's probably got one or two of those, and the rest. What was that?
what was
Sorry,
that?
sorry. That's the I'm lining up the
Cracking
next
on the land.
story, and I've shared by mistake.
Oh,
You
okay,
just
all right.
you've nipped our conversation. The oldies are talking too much. Boom,
Sorry,
he's
sorry.
just gone, segued into the next. He didn't, and then he says, "Sorry, beautifully done. I learned from the youngster." Okay, fair enough.
No,
We,
no, no.
we we overdone the diploma, which was your story, not ours. All right. So what's this?
No, no. Okay, so this is basically
Yeah, now you got us curious. Now we want to know what's missing.
okay.
Yeah. Now we can't go back to
Okay.
148 degrees.
Sure, sure, sure. So, this is a very cool and funny Sherwani ad that went
Okay,
super
Antariksh,
viral.
Miss,
both Cyrus
can you
and I
read it
are
out?
old.
I'm
You're gonna have to
struggling.
read this shit out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm struggling.
Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna read it. Yeah, yeah. So basically, this is a Sherwani ad that went viral. Okay, I'm gonna read the entire ad, and it's just
Yeah,
very
yeah, yeah.
funny and very quirky and very cool. Okay, so it says it's a missing persons report. Okay, the ad is in like a missing persons report, and it
Got
says
it. Got it.
tall, fair, and handsome, aged about 24 years, missing. My dear son Majnu, please come back home. Everyone is very upset. We have accepted both your demands. Leila shall be your bride, and the wedding Sherwani will be purchased from Sultan, the
Super.
king of
Yeah.
Sherwani. However, we shall go to their new we should go to their new market
Market.
branch since car parking facility is available there. Also, for your recognition, for your reception day, we have decided that for the entire family and close friends, all kurtas shall be purchased from Sultan, king of Sherwani. And
I
that's
love
the
it.
ad. And there's an address there.
Very nice.
This is very
Very nice.
quirky, very
Okay.
smart. It went super viral. People have been talking about it a lot.
Yeah,
I
I
thought it
have
was
an
really
issue with
interesting.
that. Like this, I feel like I'm a downer on everything today, but I have an issue with
Go on,
ads
go
like
on. Be
this.
a downer. That's
Because
why we have a
are you
podcast.
saying
No,
are you saying
because
it's a missing persons report that can be misconstrued? Is
yeah,
that why?
no,
Okay.
it devalues missing persons reports. Because now missing people, right, missing children, missing this are real important things, right? And when you parody that for advertising and for a cheap laugh, I mean, like, let's be honest, it's funny, I'm
Yeah.
not saying it's not,
So if it
but
was an
it's like,
Orbit ad, it was an Orbit ad for the
I have
same
the same,
something.
yeah, I think well, an obituary maybe not so much of a
So
problem, but
you're the guy
it's
who'll stop Munawar
missing.
Faruqi from performing, in a sense, because you've already
Am I
tabled
really?
out. Yeah, because you're telling us straight off that there are some things are sacred. Now it brings us back to our big. This
Well,
now grouse on cock and bull that we're basically on the side of free speech, and then we're not, because now we are
no,
being
I am on
sensitive
the
to
side of
society.
free
I get what you're
speech.
saying. What you're saying is also absolutely right about being sensitive, because when you do lose a loved one and you have a missing ad, it's going to hurt like hell to see Sultan, because you won't see any humor in it. But what do you do? Do you want a free speech world or not? People react to this
No, I
podcast,
no
for
no.
God's sake.
Listen,
We're
I'm not
going
saying
mad
this
here.
should
We're
be.
talking in circles, and we're not on
I'm not
narcotics.
saying this
Yeah,
should be illegal, though. I'm not saying this should be illegal. Free speech is a
but
legal
you're
illegal situation. But I'm not.
fair enough.
I don't like the
No, that's a
and
good
this is not
point.
the first
You
time.
you don't like the creative. You feel it's insensitive, but you don't want it stopped. I think I can live with that.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fair. And I think you should have an opinion about these things. You can't say, oh, it's good or not good or average, average. You got to have a strong opinion when you want to talk about these things. So that's fine. Silvery, what do you
Yeah.
feel?
I think
Are you?
it's fine. Like anyone reading it in one go would understand that it's a joke, and it's meant for, like, it's a good marketing campaign, man. We're talking about it,
Yeah, but it's a very
and
serious issue when you have a missing person.
I
So
know,
for that fraternity,
agreed.
and God forbid you ever have it, it's a terrible thing to do because you're hoping against hope. And I mean, it's more now on Insta and all that you'll be sending it. But with dogs, we do it with cats, sometimes with people also.
Yeah,
So it is a
true.
painful time in a person's life. And then,
For
so
sure,
this
for
is,
sure. If
I
you have a missing child or something, that's the worst, of course.
yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah. But what,
I'll just add one more thing over here. I don't think this is original. I've seen this
go on.
before. I know I've seen this before.
Oh,
This is
no, no,
not
that's a
original.
different argument. Amit
oh,
Doshi, now,
okay.
no, this is Rico.
No,
You're
no, no.
throwing
So
Rico at me,
no, no.
everything.
So the thing is
Censorship is
just
one
that.
issue. Creativity being copied and plagiarism is another issue altogether.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just I see I've seen this before, so I think that one, it's a ripoff. Two, I didn't like it the first time. I don't like it the second time. Again, nothing should be illegal. This should be absolutely fine for them to do from a legal perspective. But it just feels just cuzzy.
I don't know. I really like it. I'm sorry to say, I really
Yeah.
found it like I just laughed genuinely. It made me smile. So my rule for anything that's funny is that if you laugh genuinely, even if you're embarrassed that you laugh, that's fine because there's all kinds of things in your consciousness. But I laugh. So that's the with a comedian or with a comic show or whatever. It's always that for me. Did you laugh? Don't tell me how infantile it was, how stupid it is, how ludicrous. But if it's a copy, then that's not good because that happens on the internet all the time. I mean, Kunal, Silvery, just to name a couple, always copying other comics. Always taking down their stuff and
Here,
just.
allow me to share this to you guys.
You found
This
it?
is just a Google. No, I didn't even have to look very hard.
Oh my god,
Uh,
that's scary, Silvery. Sultan sucks apparently.
Yeah, Sultan just
so
copies. Yeah, that.
Oh, as the
yeah,
Australians say
okay.
in a
Yeah.
memorable song, the Sultans.
So each and every one of these is a joke,
Which
right?
is the foreign
Each
one?
all of them are jokes. I mean, like there are some Indian, there are some foreign, but they're all jokes.
I can see one with Lionel Richie in the
Lionel
corner.
Richie
Yeah.
like person, you'll get sued.
Hello, is it me you're looking for? So again,
Okay, got it. It's him.
That's him.
so okay, so I guess I don't have a problem with a single ad. I have a problem with this genre of ads.
Yeah, that's fair. I
But
think I understand that.
in the entire hierarchy of what's going wrong with the world, with COVID, with communalism, casteism, the polarizing of humanity, droughts in certain parts, cannibalism also, I'm told, extortion, pollution, global warming. I'm going to put this category of ads a little
Fairly
lower.
low, very low, fairly low.
Well,
Yeah, again, I'm not saying it should be banned. I'm not saying I have a huge issue with it. I'm not saying that fuck Sultan. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just like,
true. No, I think we should always have a right to not like something. Why not?
yeah.
But you're right. As long as you don't ban it, because that's the difference. Banning is the thing like, no, you shall be shot. You shall be shot is the fascism that you want to avoid because then freedom of expression is killed. So you want freedom of expression, you have the right to express yourself about not liking the expression. I spent my whole life
Agreed.
fending off. I'm on the back foot at home and with my friends and family growing up because they always tell me to shut up, keep quiet, you're talking rubbish, stop talking. I've spent my whole life like that. So freedom of expression is very important on a personal level to me.
I agree. You have the
My
freedom.
sister used to tell me all the time in the car, I put the dad's put the AC on now, you can't talk because it's too loud. Literally, this is what she used to tell me. And all I do is I make money by talking. I have no other way to earn money. How mean. No, but she's a lovely girl and she's an American. She listens to this. And those days are gone. That was the old Fiat. Poor Sylvie will have no memory of that. Do you have any memory of the old Padmini Fiat?
I mean, yeah, I've sat in the Fiat. I've sat in the
I
Ambassador
don't think
also.
so.
My dad
But
had
the
a.
AC used to be very
Really?
good, I felt, when we first got it. How will it?
I've sat.
By the 90s, it was gone, bro.
My dad had a government job,
Ah,
so they
okay.
used
Yeah,
to use the Ambassador for a while.
in the
In government
you
jobs.
were born in 1980
92,
something, right? 92.
92,
So where's the
92.
ambassador by 95, 96? There wouldn't be anything on the
I
road.
mean,
Very little.
dude, in the 2000s, they were still using ambassadors. Taxis were still ambassadors
In Delhi, they kept them a little
No,
while
no,
longer.
in Mumbai.
Yeah.
Is it so? I thought they moved to Contessa and all that. I remember clearly. I have government. Hyderabad estate is right next to me. I have a lot of friends growing up from the government.
I remember seeing them after I came back to India as well, right? I mean, like in some, I have friends who live in
No,
government
no, you're
estates.
seeing the odd one
Yeah,
here
yeah,
and
not
there.
like all over the
Yeah.
place.
What a car, that Ambassador. Oh, I know. I do it in my stand-up all the time because people who come for our kind of shows at my age, they all have fond memories. You got to
Yeah, of
press,
course.
and you got to
Yeah.
drive it to get that empathy. You press the brake in Malba Hill, it stops at Marine Drive. It used to be like that.
Yeah.
It was great fun.
Uh,
My mom used
And
to
the
drive
gear
it, and
shift also,
invariably,
the side gear
oh
shift.
God, she wouldn't be able to put it in gear. You didn't be muscular and
Yeah.
strong to do that. That sound would come up being in the wrong gear. Yeah.
I heard I was listening to the Conan O'Brien podcast with Adam McKay, the guy who directed The Big Short and this new Netflix movie
Don't
and
look
stuff, right?
up. Yeah,
And he
correct.
did, yeah, he described a story which happened, like the exact same story happened to my cousin in Ambassador when we were all sitting in it. There were like 8 of us or 9 of us sitting inside an Ambassador car. We had gone to NCPA had a restaurant called Rangoli at that time. So we had all gone to Rangoli for dinner, and then after we came out from Rangoli, my mama was in his Ambassador. He had picked up my family, his full family was there, and one or two of my other cousins were there. My cousin Malik was a young kid sitting on the passenger side on somebody's lap, like like so. I think my masa or somebody's lap he was sitting on, right? My mama was trying to find his way around NCPA. I don't know if you remember, but earlier it used to be impossible to figure out how to get out of it. The parking lot was huge.
Yeah.
There were
It
all
was a
these
bit of a
different kind
maze.
of turns. Yeah, so you couldn't figure out how. So he's driving around.
Also, which exit and which entry was always the problem. Yeah.
So he's driving around trying to figure out how to kind of move around, and he takes a really sharp left turn at one. The door of the Ambassador opens up. My cousin
Oh.
was on the thing, right? So he was like basically holding up and looking out like this. And so the door opens. He's hanging on the door outside as we're going around as we're going around the parking lot. And then basically the person who was
Indian
sitting over pulls the door
Indian
closed and he
carousel?
comes right back on the
Would you
lap.
say?
It
Oh,
was
wow.
Indian
that's
carousel.
exactly what he called it. We called it the Indian merry-go-round.
Nothing happened, so it's fine. But my God, that's a horrible story. If a kid
Yeah,
goes flying out of the car because he took the
I
turn too
know it was
sharply.
crazy. Just
That's
a
why, thank
turn,
God,
and he was
today's cars lock on their own.
yeah.
They lock
Well,
on
yeah,
their
that's
own within 13
true.
seconds
Actually, they
normally.
do.
But we didn't.
They do.
See,
They do.
this is the difference, Silvery. I love doing this when I get a crowd to talk about because you don't understand how hard it was for us. My father, the way we were
Yeah.
trained, I think Amit would have had the same training, although Parsis are much worse. Park the car, you put all the windows up yourself as the driver. Okay, that means you
Correct,
go
correct. Yeah.
because you have to do it manually. Then you go
Yeah.
outside the car and you touch the tip of each thing to see the window is shut fully so that no one can steal your bloody cheap Fiat because somebody
And
will
then you
pull
have to
the
check
window
each door
down with a
also.
50
Then,
paisa coin. He
yeah,
had it
correct.
all planned out. Some
Yeah.
truth is standing outside a building with a 50 paisa coin saying, Brocha ki gaadi aa gaya, to main chori karega, 100% tak, prunk, plonk. So we did all this shit. So parking was always a
Yeah,
good
yeah.
five
Also, you have to
minutes
lock the door from the inside before getting out of the
from
car,
the
right?
inside and
Yeah.
exactly.
And then check
And then
outside, all
you
that,
get into
man.
this
Yeah.
generation where you do click and walk away. And my workout partner, he just clicks his jeep and walks away. I still check, and I'm thinking, well, look at the difference. It's
Yeah.
small stuff, but I can't get out of that security thing. I gotta check, and he doesn't look back. I'm sure you guys do that. You don't look back. You flick it like a
No,
star,
I
like
check
Schwarzenegger in
actually.
a movie or something, and boom, it shuts. I'm like, how can you do
So
that? I told him, let's go look at it. Look at it properly. Check.
Yeah.
so
Technology
this new car I
malfunction.
have is the first time I have a remote control lock. Before this, I never had that remote control locking. And so
How are you doing?
so in the previous cars, I would do that, right? I'd lock, I check the. So what I do is I check the driver door and I check the left side, sorry, the back door behind me, right? And if both of them are locked, then I'm sure that it's locked. But I did do that in the cars that I had previously, which all had like the automatic door locking, but not the remote control.
So then my daughter psychologically destroys me with the same situation because the other thing you do is you're not sure locked. So you press it
Oh,
again. Was
yeah,
that a lock or not a lock? So I
yeah.
press it and then she says that if you press again, it unlocks. Huh? Off I go for a manual check again. I'm like, how vicious these kids are. And if she had to lock for whatever reason, I'm going somewhere physically and she has to take the key up and go on her own or whatever. I mean, it's the same thing, bang, poop, and gone. We're really confident. I could never do that. I feel like I'm chained. So sad. This is the difference between the 80s and the 90s and today's. I mean, you can just see these small things. The times when roll down the windows actually meant something. Yes, Rachit, you're absolutely right. Just instructions in a car in the 90s would take you through sort of a social interaction because you'd have to talk about the windows, the doors. Are you locked? Don't sit near the door. Are you sure it's locked? All this would happen. Now what? You get in the car, boom, it's over. That's it. Pump up the jam, man. Pump up the jam. You know
When
that
did
song, Silvery?
uh Yeah, I don't know that song.
No!
Pump Up the Jam?
Yes!
I do
You're
not.
not a 90s kid, boy.
We don't know that song.
How will you know it's a 90s song?
No, but Pump Up the Jam is 80s, dude. It was in school.
Yeah, 80s, 90s, come on, whatever, you know what I mean. The late 80s, early 90s, whatever we were in college, one of those.
Yeah.
89 to 93, I was in college.
When do you guys start seeing traffic in Bombay? Like proper traffic?
No, that becomes more when
Already.
you're driving. I think until the time I actually was driving, or then it becomes an issue for you more. When there was much less traffic. Amit, 90s, did we really suffer that much? I don't remember.
No, it's always been an issue. I remember when I first. So my mom's family is from Sion, right? And we used to have this.
Certain
We used to
areas.
go up and down to. We used to go up and down to Sion. It would take us. It would take 90 minutes to go because this was before you could use the road. You could use the back road to get there. The road that we use now is the main road, right? You had to go through like Dadar.
You'll have no idea. I mean, how do you explain it? The glory of LBS Marg, for example, we had to go to Ghatkupar a few times because my wife's family had a small house there. And that LBS Marg was like, you took your map and you held your balls in your hands and you hoped for the best. Oh my God, don't remind me. The moment she said we're going to Ghatkupar, I'd be like, oh Christ. And now it's a breeze. Went there for some event at some mall the other day. Boom.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
hey guys, it's 37 minutes of show. Don't we take a break?
Let's take a break.
And do we have our organized break this day as well?
We do. Yes, we do.
We do. Presenting the break.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Advertising is Dead, Varun talks to Anil Vishwanathan of Mondelez India. They discuss the beloved Cadbury brand and its campaigns over the years. On Speakeasy, Dheeraj is in conversation with Ranjit Pratap Singh, the CEO and co-founder of Pratilipi. Hey, that's our parent company. They talk about how Ranjit tapped into the need for non-English storytelling content and created a company with over 30 million readers worldwide. On Smarter with Sid, resolved to have better resolutions. Sid tells us how understanding the difference between objectives and outcomes can be liberating. On Tere Mere Raaste, Keshav takes us to Dubai, world of skyscrapers, world-class infrastructure, glittering malls, and massive boulevards. On the Life Manifesto, Zarina goes over the concept of self-abandonment. She explains the do's and don'ts of dealing with it. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, do tell a friend. The word of mouth absolutely is essential to us. Don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms that you've been listening to. And also, I'd like to ask everybody to check us out on YouTube. We have a number of channels going. You can find all of them on ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Cred, Bank of Baroda, CoinSwitch, Kuber, and Intel. Thank you so much for making this possible.
What I find particularly appealing in Amit's voice, it's almost soft porn, gentle, but not offensive. If you just shut your eyes and listen, it's got that texture where he's being really nice. He's the first step to you now becoming an active Tinder member and participant because, he's luring you into it. But it doesn't cross a line where I feel some depravity or, some prejudice coming through or, some sort of, fetishes and all. It's not in that area. It's just clearly I'm slightly randy, but there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm just gently exercising my right to have a shower alone or maybe with you. I get that's the space. Everyone likes a voice. I'm telling you, this is genuine reaction. First and foremost, let me tell you, it's the American accent, which also makes a big effort to tone it down. So it's unique because of that. And secondly, because it's a soft and gentle way of talking, which is so rare. Listen to me. I'm always like 100 miles per hour. Silverie's got his own issues. So it's a very rare voice in podcast radio medium. Who talks gently anymore? I'm trying to think back to Amin Sayani and when I was very young on radio where they would have a very gentle way of talking. Some of the Hindi guys have that because they come from Lucknow and all that. And I've worked with some of them. They have that nice way of speaking, very tamizy and sweet and always like. But other than that, in English for sure, everybody's loud. If you're not loud, you're not.
I think that's a format limitation, right? I think like if you listen to Rishi K, right? You listen to him when he's doing music versus you listen to him doing an interview, right? And there's a difference in how his tonality comes out. When he's introducing music and stuff like that, is peppy all the way up, and right. But when he's doing an interview, he's more.
He explained that to us on the podcast. He said that basically it's because before food and after food, voice changes completely and mood. But that's not in your case.
See that?
So, but I'm not joking. I think you can have a career in voiceovers because what do you think, Silverie? Jokes apart, it's quite unique, right? The sound.
Exactly. Yeah, a great trailer voice also. Like good for trailers and all. I think it would be
trailer and it's a comforting voice. It's comforting presence. Amit for headspace.
So good for ads is what I'm saying. Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
Like lifestyle ads and
So
all that
now,
would be great for. Like great words for lifestyle ads. Correct. Yeah.
Amit,
Yeah.
while your
Absolutely.
office is sort of in a coma, once again, with all this going on, you can use it to do sort of pilots for yourself. Just take 10 big brands and do the ads in your voice. And just send it to them and say,
I'll
guys,
do
check
that.
this out as an
I
option.
all the
Bad
host
idea?
reads that you guys eventually do, I send the first copy in my voice.
Well, now it'll be the last
That so
copy.
I mean, like,
The first
yes, no,
copy
no,
will
it
be
will
the
still
last copy.
continue to be the first
This
copy
is
because
the
again,
world's laziest actor gave us the same philosophy when poor Gopal came from NSD full of beans wanting to perform. And Gopal said, Kunal, can we do one more take? And Kunal said, your first take is your last take. Gopal, what? What does that even mean? Ask Gopal. We need to get him to talk about Kunal when he's had 2 drinks. It's just so funny. He was like, what? He comes from NSD with everybody so eager to perform and all that. First take is your last take. Yeah.
I
Sorry.
can
All
see
right.
Kunal
So
saying that though.
we haven't we haven't talked about Modi ji in a couple of days. There is this very interesting thing that is going on about Modi ji in his visit to Punjab. He got basically stuck in a traffic
That
jam.
on his way out.
Yeah, on a flyover.
The Batinda joke.
Yeah, on a flyover. Basically, what happened was there were some protesters on the flyover or just off the flyover, because of which the jam happened. And then BJP started calling it's been a security breach. The Punjab government, the Congress government, has basically done this
Allowed it to
to
happen. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
allowed to happen to basically possibly physically harm the prime minister.
Yeah. They made that line about he didn't lose his life or something. What is the exact line? What is the quote?
The exact
He
line.
said something sarcastic. He quoted. It's quite funny. Yeah.
Okay, I will find it.
I want to thank the chief minister for not losing my life or something. Just see.
Oh,
Go on.
okay.
Sorry. Go
That's
on.
great. So this happened. The BJP and Congress are having like a spar of words right now, where the Congress is saying, no, you guys changed your route, so that's why the route that you was originally planned was already secured. So you guys changed your route, and now
You
these
can't
protesters are
beat
here, so we can't
politics.
help it.
From the
Yeah,
best
yeah,
in comedy.
yeah.
Can
And then after that,
one thing
another
that
thing has happened. Yeah, please go ahead. Okay, another thing happened after that is the general secretary of the BJP. His name is CT Ravi.
Let's call him Gensec.
Gensec of the BJP. He tweeted another one of those BJP politicians tweeting, देश के गद्दारों को गोली मारो सालों को, like similar words. Basically, he's just saying कि गोली मारो उन गद्दारों को, saying that protesters again should be shot and whatever, or Congress people should be shot. Again, one of those rhetorics come up. It's just immediate for BJP and politicians, seem like.
So let's just say freedom of expression, not really his cup of tea, the Gensec, so to speak.
Yeah, not
But
really.
if you can get that satirical sort of piece of, it's quite funny the line he used. I'm going to translate it into English,
I
but
will
it's still
just find
funny.
it.
Yeah, Amit, you was wanting to jump in.
Yeah, so I was just, it was not so much about Desh Ke Gaddar, okay, but it was more about the driving situation, which, and something I found out over this last few days, which I didn't know. Did you know that presidents and vice presidents of America are not allowed to drive ever again in the future
Themselves?
themselves?
Why?
I just found this out. So apparently, for security reasons, they're not allowed to drive on public roads. So Jay Leno has,
As
yeah,
in,
so Jay Leno,
they're given bodyguards for life anyway.
yeah, so they're given bodyguards for life. So they're not allowed to drive cars themselves. The bodyguards have to drive them everywhere.
Wow.
So I was watching
So when they go on a show like Jay Leno's car show or Seinfeld's car show,
Jay Leno's. So exactly, I saw it on. I heard about this on Jay Leno's garage only, right? So George
right?
W. Bush picked Jay Leno up in a Ford in a pickup truck, but he is only allowed to drive in his own private property. He cannot take the car onto a physical road. When
Wow.
Joe Biden was on Jay Leno's garage,
Same with comedians can't get coffee when Obama was in thing. Yeah, correct.
yeah, they had to drive it within the this. But so if you're president and that's the rule, I can still understand that to some degree. But I can't believe that ex-presidents are not allowed to drive. That's the one that really kind of got me surprised.
Donald Trump doesn't know how to drive.
That's probably true. He's from New York.
Yeah.
Lots of
His
people who
hands are
grow
too
up in New York
small.
don't.
Hands are too small. Couldn't clutch the wheel.
So
That too,
Oliver
maybe.
Stone, director Oliver Stone, was just on Joe Rogan's podcast talking about the JFK assassination.
Wow, conspiracy means
Yeah.
conspiracy means conspiracy
For
squared.
sure.
Well, I thought you were
But
going to go into a
they
bad
have
joke here
major.
saying that JFK should have been driving. Ugh, sorry.
But actually, funnily enough, the JFK assassination is the impetus for this rule to come into play. Not that he was
Ooh.
driving at that
Yeah, I was
time,
thinking that.
but
I was thinking exactly that.
yeah, but when
What,
the
it was 9 miles per hour the way the cavalcade was going, so you gave you a little time to have a shot.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have to be
Well,
good with a gun, but yeah. No, no. If it's faster, the chances are no. Today with laser technology, I have no idea. They just put a dot on you and boom, it's like that. Silvery, be careful. Don't keep your windows open. On this podcast upsets a few people.
Yeah,
Be
correct,
very
correct.
careful. You
Sure.
see a red light, duck immediately. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably the
But you
builder.
need to be way more careful than
Yeah.
Cyrus.
No, I have no
Yeah.
windows. The
Oh, okay,
windows
cool.
I had,
Smart.
we had to grill shut because of the robbery, where the guy got nothing. He was so upset with my career going nowhere. He left me a note saying, "Aur mehnat karo, bhai." Oh, I mean,
Okay,
yeah, go
no,
on.
Rachit Jain has just said something. He says Shigeru Miyamoto created some of the most famous video games in history, but Nintendo won't allow him to ride his bike to work. The company said he's too important to risk getting injured on a bike. Wow. That's actors have
Yeah,
that,
but
have
this
those
I
clauses.
buy. This is like a footballer. You don't want him running around.
Yeah.
If he's
Yeah.
messy or something, you worry about his feet and his body and all that. Or in the case of pastry models, their chest. So and jokes apart, they've all been
So
insured at
this
huge premiums, simply because they're the breadwinner for an industry. Well, yeah, what do you say, Amit? If you're on the board,
No, so this actually happened in the NBA, right? So there was a draft pick called Jay Williams for the Chicago Bulls. He was the number 2 pick in the draft at that time. So, like, really anticipated rookie. He got
how
into
it all comes back to the NBA, Silvery.
no, but he got into so he got into a motorcycle accident. His career was over.
How like really bad?
He
Oh,
got into a motorcycle
okay.
really bad. Got into a motorcycle accident, destroyed his knee. Career is over. So I can understand why people have these kinds of rules. I guess I mean, it makes
Even
sense.
me, I'm so
Hollywood
scared of
has
Mikhail
these.
riding a bike. He wanted a bike and all
Yeah,
that. I mean, all. Can you hear me?
yeah.
Silvery is
Yeah.
gone. We're okay. He's there. No, I'm
He's
just
here.
saying, as a father, also, bike is a little different. Although I
Huh.
love bikes, and but to make a loved one ride a bike, or in the case of a financial loved one whose impetus is important for your career and life, these things are also in the same category because you'll
Yeah.
be sweating buckets. That's also the way we see
Yeah.
them ride here, Mr. Doshi. Look
Oh,
at the way they ride their bikes here. I mean,
I know.
my God, I don't know how they survive.
So my mom has been cool with pretty much anything I've ever wanted to do in
Except
life.
bikes,
Bikes
yeah,
been an
me too.
absolute no-no. Absolute no-no.
Even
Like
bike
not
sex.
even a
She said you want to be a bike sexual, that's fine, but not bike. I remember exact words. Yeah.
My parents, yeah.
Silvi, what about you? What does mom say?
Same.
Mom wants beta at home.
Absolutely no
In
bikes.
case.
My parents are totally against two-wheelers of any kind.
What if you became a
The
delivery
super
rider?
unsafe man in Bombay, I mean, that would be very disappointing
Mummy
to them.
naukri mil
I'm sure.
gaya, Swiggy. Huh?
Very disappointed in me in life. But okay.
Yeah.
Dignity of work, I guess, to some. Yes, why not?
So what can we preserve of ours? I mean, in this case, his mind is important, so he shouldn't follow the bike because the whole industry relies on his brilliance for the next video game, etc. In my case, it's my stupidity. So you should also make sure I don't ride a bike. I'm gonna get intelligent if I have a bang or something. Come back home again. 149 degrees on the weekend. How to bake a cake using only your anus. One of those. Because I'm dying to see what that guy has achieved in terms of different degrees and diplomas. So interesting. Because there are things out there on the net. The net is lovely that way. There's just some ridiculously stupid stuff like this show. Okay, shall we quickly get some?
Sure,
Oh, you
absolutely.
put
We have
the Bhatinda
Atal
एयरपोर्ट
emails.
वाले को actually read अपने
Yeah.
सीएम को थैंक्स कहना कि मैं बठिंडा एयरपोर्ट तक जिंदा लौट पाया. Say thank you that I was able to return to Bhatinda airport alive to your CM. Oh, yeah. So I
Wow.
like this
Yes.
actually. When the politicians do this kind of banter, I'm happy.
Yeah.
I wish they could keep it there instead of getting that religiosity and all that rubbish into it, where it starts
yeah.
becoming, really polarizing. This, especially in since English is our first language in British Parliament, when they talk, sometimes it's great fun, the banter. And I'm sure different cultures there is that.
Yep.
And then the line crosses into just abuse and people die as a consequence of your stupid conversations, etc., etc. This is good for me. They should keep it that way. And deep down, you might even think it's a little mischievous on the Congress's part. Encourage them. और आगे जाओ, ब्रिज के ऊपर जाओ. पुलिस नहीं है यहाँ दोपहर के time में. And next thing you know, there is a jam. It's not impossible in our country. It is not impossible in our
yeah,
country
you're
to
right.
be as petty as possible.
What you're describing right now is a plot point from West Wing, where basically Martin Sheen as the president and the
Yeah,
person who is supposed to be fighting the election against him, Josh Brolin,
yeah.
is he's supposed to come to. They're both supposed to meet at a what do you call it, at a play in the evening, which was being done by like some religious organization. But what Martin Short does is he makes a trip, which basically screws up all of the traffic for this guy
Hmm.
for his opponent to come. So his opponent comes late for the play. So it's a plot point over there. The idea that let's use traffic to fuck people up.
So now this is all fair in politics and war sort of thing. It's a little different from actual devious acts which cause, corrupt practices to, fast forward, etc. But again, it is, I don't know, I'm okay. It's like sledging. I think within limits, it's fun. It's always fun. Yesterday, Rishabh Pant was going on after the Van Dusen, the South African batsman who was batting towards the end, who was sledging him at short leg. And he was saying things in English. Okay, boys, okay, lads. He's taken in the team only for sledging or kuch kaam nahi karta wo. Things like that. That's fine. That kind of banter. The guy's anyway got like not a great average, and so his confidence is not that great. And he's hearing this chipping from the back. What do you say, Amit? That's fun, no? It's all good fun.
I love trash talk. I love like sledging. I love all of that stuff, right? I mean,
He's selected for sledging. That's really funny. Can't bat, can't bowl. Sledge. Okay, let's take them.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Follow me at Instagram and Twitter on Bored Brocha. I'm so bored. I need your help. I need your love. I need your touch. Okay, just follow me.
All right, AMAs. The first one comes from Rohan Jacob. He says, "Do you guys watch?" Sorry to talk about it. He says, "Do you guys watch Shark Tank India? It's a great show, and I don't understand the hate it's getting on social media. We have an issue when something.
It must be
is
like,
going
hello,
well."
friends. Yeah, these shows, you have to be careful when you duplicate it, right? Because the personality of those guys is so important. And I don't know. We haven't watched this. How do we give a take on it? But I can see the not liking the Desi version, because the person who watches that is watching this, and they are aligned to that.
So I think the
That's the
problem
problem.
is that, right? The people who are talking shit about this, right, are the people who are watching Shark Tank US or watching the Dragon's Den or something like that. Whereas Shark Tank India has been built for a much massier audience, a much wider audience,
Correct.
right?
Just don't look
And
at that.
yeah, exactly. But see, here's the other thing, right? I really admire some of these people there, right? Apparently, maybe not the Bharat Pay guy. I don't know if you guys saw this, but the guy who is there from Bharat Pay, a recording of his came out today in the morning that where he is talking to his relationship manager from Kotak Bank and abusing the fuck out of him and threatening to kill him, essentially, for not getting him
What?
allotment of a particular
Sledging.
share. Yeah. No,
And
not sledging.
Kotak has
So
been
like
friends of this
apparently,
podcast. How dare he? Don't you dare abuse Kotak. We'll send Silvery to your house.
but again, but some of the other people who are on Shark Tank India, right? I admire what they do, right? The guy who founded Anupam Mittal's on that show. Then
Oh,
Sugar
Shopee.com.
Cosmetics. Vinita is on that show. She's really great, and so I mean, I admire some of these people, right? And this is not the best look for them. It's just not because again, see, they're speaking in a
I'm confused.
non-native
What do you mean?
language. So,
Oh,
Cyrus,
all
imagine
that. Yeah, okay. Their English speaking is better than the Hindi speaking sometimes, all that. Yeah, okay.
they're all speaking Hindi in American accents and telling stuff to people who
So
are.
they're creating a chasm in any case with that.
It's that whole like Pardes style, the westernized foreigner. Evil,
Yeah,
yeah,
the westernized Hindi worked on a music channel, doesn't work on this, because the Desi guy is now
doesn't.
getting feeling non-aligned to you in any case. Yeah, I get that. But then why? What are you saying? You should be more son of the soil, hardcore guy coming up, and there are billionaires
I
like that. So
no,
the
I know.
Paytm guy, for example.
But yeah, maybe something like that. I don't know. I honestly I don't know what the answer is over here because again, there is a difference in the
I mean, you can go.
ways that people speak. Yeah,
You can be
I
on
would
that show
definitely come across as like this
with your soft American
stereotypical
twang.
villain.
Yeah, yeah. Hi friends. आज हम लोग पैसा बनाते हैं. हाथ पकड़े and shout. Yeah. But I think we're being a little unfair with this whole comparing thing. Going back to Hello Friends and all that. You can't watch American sensibilities. They are different. The way they present things are very different. The
Yeah.
quality sometimes of what we do is just not up to that mark, because you're trying to actually spin off a copy. They have to localize things, and then they look totally different. Spinning off copies sometimes can really not work in your benefit. And if it's the same market watching both, I mean, Kevin O'Leary's at 8 years or 7 years, my kids love him. For example, that generation after Silvery, they've grown up on this guy and these guys, and they like some of them. Mark Cuban, for example, big fans. So then they've got that. Now, how do you push that away? It's the same
Yeah.
thing with the EPL versus the Indian football. So now you put the EPL out. So the elite kids, the ones who are raised on La Liga and EPL and all that, they cannot dumb down so much for
Yeah.
ISL, in a sense. Hate to use the phrase, but it's that problem.
Yeah,
I mean, he's crying because Klopp has got COVID, but he doesn't care anything about the Indian scenario, which is a little sad. But what
yeah.
to do?
Again, the thing is that I think that it's a good idea to promote entrepreneurship in India, right? Again, I think these are all most of them are really good at entrepreneurship kind of stuff.
So
They're
that
good
they passed the
investors,
test.
all that they're good, right? But I don't know, man. It feels I'm not loving it. Let me just put it that way, right?
Why don't we
I
get one
don't
of them
like.
onto our podcast as a serial sponsor for many of the shows, and we then allow them to really speak their mind, and we promote them in the way where they can be promoted, where they, what you see is what you get really, and the guy will come across better. I'll call Anupam
We're
Mittal; he's a
working
friend of
on.
mine as well, and yeah,
Okay,
and we'll,
so
he
call
has
him,
his
ask him to
own
come on.
Ask Anupam
Yeah,
show,
ask him to come on.
or
He'll
what is
come.
the show that Anupam Kher used to do? What was that called? We can
Anupam
just rehash
Kher.
that. Yeah,
What was it? Anupam Kher or
that
Farooq
he
Sheikh? Are you thinking of the Farooq Sheikh one?
no,
Farooq
that's
Sheikh was did that Jina Usi
no,
Ka Naam or something like that,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
This
yeah.
is your life.
Your life, end of your life thing or whatever, that
Oh,
one.
he had
No, I'm talking about
जीना इसी का नाम नहीं. What?
Yeah, Jina
that's
Uh,
Usi
Farooq.
Ka Naam. I think that's what it was
Farooq.
called.
लाइफ में ऐसा ही होता है something, no? लाइफ में ऐसा होता है something.
No, that's his play.
That's
कुछ भी हो सकता है.
No, the
But
same show he had a talk show also of the same name, of the play name
there
from
was
the
one.
play.
Ask Anupam, please. Ask Anupam uncle.
Oh, saying something to
Paisa,
Anupam
paisa,
uncle.
paisa, paisa. Tarun Kaushik is quick to. We need him on the show all the time to save us. He's our Google.
Hmm.
Yeah,
there
but
is
No,
I
no,
think
something
we
it
should
was
called
ask
saying
that.
something to
Anupam.
Anupam uncle, the kids one.
Say na something to Anupam uncle. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
That's the one I was talking about.
Okay.
Rohit
Yeah.
Sharma, who's
No,
not
I got
playing
it.
in this
And
series.
Rohit Sharma
You
also
got
got
it,
me.
beta. You win the prize. The prize
I
is
know.
you get a
Don't.
voiceover delivered at home at 10 in the night from Amit saying good
Perfect.
night. Amit, am I sounding like a bitch? I really like the voice. I don't
No,
want to
that's
sound
all
like I'm
right,
bitching.
dude. I mean, like, I guess
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to deal with this every week now.
It's a good
But
voice. Everybody likes it. We've not got one person saying I don't like your voice, which is on this format fantastic. Really. Move next one.
yes, guess what comes from Girish Patil. He says on the anniversary of the Capitol riot, do you think Trump is the worst president of the USA, and who is the second worst in that case?
Let the American answer this because I mean, you're talking about worst
Yeah.
personality, worst president. When we look at policies, you have to be specific. Worst presentation of a president in a presidential avatar, I would say 100%. But I don't know about worst president. When you look at the performance in 4 years of the country, yeah,
Worst modern president, right? I mean, like anything post World War II, you could probably say yes. But worst president, there have been some.
Lyndon B,
Well, Lyndon B. Johnson, I mean, like he had his issues, but I would still say that he's
Vietnam,
so Vietnam, yes, but also civil rights.
Richard Nixon,
Nixon would not be a very bad one.
yeah, and
Watergate.
lots of plaudits for him till Watergate.
Yeah, so here's the thing, right? Watergate, if you consider Watergate compared to some of the Trump scandals, it's like nothing. It
Oh,
really is.
oh, for
It's
sure.
nothing compared to Trump scandals, right? So I mean,
The American has spoken.
George
The
W.
American
Bush
has spoken.
then started so many wars.
so
George W.
started
Bush.
wars. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
That's one this, but at the same time, he had some good moments too. So I mean, like I don't know. I think it's too
I
close
mean,
to
Carried
kind of
the way
say.
he
himself.
dodged that slipper, that he dodged that shoe was epic. I have to
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
Hmm.
that
yeah.
was
Yeah.
very
Uh,
like what?
See,
It was so
he,
epic.
the thing is just this, right? I think that presidents in America or prime ministers in India, right, they get too much credit and too much blame, right? In both cases, right? Trump, while we can talk all the shit about in the world about Trump, then we also have to kind of give him credit for the fact that vaccine out in a year, right? He pushed it hard. He made sure that all of that got done, right? So I mean, like there are goods and there are bads, and I mean, like I don't like the guy on a. I feel a visceral dislike of him.
I don't know. For his no mask mandate, I gave him 1 point. But anyway, I'm so alone in my pointing out his good points that I'll just leave it there. So let the Americans speak. Also, keep in mind that the exposure of today's presidents is so much more. You could Gerald Ford, you won't even know anything about them. In terms of there was no internet, there was no up and down globalization
Yeah.
media wise that we have now. So every fault can be looked at, replayed, looped, all that.
Mhm.
Like poor Biden missing a step, for example, all over the world, 190 countries are watching it, and then everybody can make a joke. All
Yeah.
every late night hosts across different cultures are doing it. So that's also there that there's inertia of so much. While back in
Yes.
the day, there's not that much, so we don't know. Like, what is the sex lives of Indian politicians from the 60s and 70s? Only I know the answers to that, but I'm not allowed to share it for obvious reasons.
John F. Kennedy. I mean, like if you're talking about like
Yeah, oof,
issues
yeah.
with personal life and stuff
Scandals.
like
Yeah,
that,
yeah,
John
yeah,
F.
yeah, yeah.
Kennedy,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
That's only personal life. We don't even know about the rest, decision making and all that
Exactly.
in terms
No,
of,
and so
yeah.
it's just
Mm.
there's so much more opacity then compared to now, and in some ways we're suffering from over analysis right now, right? Just there's just
Too much info.
too much information,
They could say,
and too much analysis, right? So what winds up happening is that if you're a journalist who has to write an analysis piece on what a particular government is doing, your job is let me come up with a fresh take, let me come up with a fresh way to express this, right? And there are only so many ways to express idea ABC, and so then you wind up seeing like a lot of clickbaity shit, right? Which is
Mm.
I don't know. I feel like it's a Trump was an awful president, but I don't know if he's the worst president ever.
and coming out with too
Mm.
much info, that's something this podcast can never be accused of. Thank God. You
Never.
know, frankly.
And
One cock and
definitely
bull, we do one story, sometimes two, if you're really lucky, sometimes none. No point advertising this. Don't do any promos for our show, this edition of it, at least, for God's sake. But with the guests, we can at least blame the guests, good or bad. Here, we're screwed. We have lots to talk about, actually, not. 145 degrees is all I can remember after one full hour. So let's take one or two last ones.
we should
So,
do
yes, Amit.
Jokic, the Jokic question. I mean, like one of the Jokic
The
questions. I don't know what.
which
But
questions? Sorry. Oh,
there
Djokovic.
are a bunch
Okay,
of
okay.
people who ask. There are a bunch of people who asked about Djokovic, right? I said
Yeah,
Jokic.
yeah,
I
correct,
did
correct,
say
correct.
But what?
Jokic. I meant
Yeah.
Djokovic.
Okay, okay. So,
But Djokovic, huh?
Djokovic, yeah.
yeah. So he's apparently
Yeah.
not. He's
Well, first they agreed to allow him to come, and then Scott Morrison went and interfered and said, "There's if he comes, then we deport him because he's
Yeah.
not taking the virus." I'm really torn here because without Djokovic, there's no Aussie Open for me. But and I don't know, man. But this Scott Morrison is trying to make it's a populist thing, that everyone is equal under the eyes of the law, which is so untrue. I'm sure there are politicians who cross borders and all that, and they don't get a double check, or we don't even know about it. That's it. You're not going to stop the PM from coming.
If I understood this correctly, then actually what is happening right now is he's being singled out to be not allowed, because from what
Yeah,
my understanding of the Australian law is was, or what I saw in the first article I
double
read yesterday.
vaccine or no.
No, no, not if you've been infected in the last 6 months, then you are also allowed to come in without the vaccinations, right?
Right.
And he has been infected in the last 6 months, and that was the basis on which he was trying to on the basis of which he was
No, so
entering.
they gave him the medical thumbs up,
Huh.
the mandoli, if you want to call it. This is the association, Aussie Tennis Association, and him. Okay, they finally agreed to that because he's big bucks. End of the day, you know, got to sell bums on
Yeah.
seats. You got people have to watch the show,
yeah,
and he's number
yeah.
one. And with one or two Federer injured, etc., etc. You need Djokovic. Australian Open is his soil. He has the world record, etc. Now Scott Morrison interferes, and so here's a question of what Australian law is not very clear about is whether he's allowed that what is the phrase for it, medical anomaly or whatever. They have that option, so they exercise that option. So if that option is legal and allowed, then he should have been allowed. Although we all know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, why it's allowed. But
Yeah.
Scott Morrison has come and interfered in populist, what they think is a populist thing that bring the big gun down to show they're all equal in the eyes of the law and what a great and just man I am. I don't know. I want to watch tennis. I'm like, who cares? Just let him play. As long as he can't infect anybody else. If you can prove that, which apparently the antibodies test can be done while he's sleeping, I presume he's not going to be too happy about that. But then again, we discussed this in, why the arrogance of not doing the test and I refuse to, it's the freedom of choice, blah, blah, blah. That's a whole nother story altogether. From the point of view of tennis, we lose out.
If it's just about hey, freedom of choice, I don't want to take the vaccine, then you don't want to take the vaccine, then so be it. You deal with the issues that come from that, right? But if there is a rule which is being circumvented by the prime minister to let to specifically not allow him, that's also not cool. So I don't.
They made too much of an issue out of it. So it had to be tabled in parliament. On a
But I
loose
mean,
day for
like,
Australia when nothing much is happening. It was like, boom, let's
but
go for
see,
this.
this is the problem with, like, I think how we treat laws, even in India to a great extent, right? That not everything can be fixed on an individual basis, right? There's this as a half lawyer, I'm sure you've heard this statement right before, right? That
Yeah.
hard cases make for bad precedents, right? Because the individual items of these kinds of things, or the individual these things should be process driven. They should not be driven by what is decided at one given point in time by certain period people, right? It
Look,
should be these are the
we
rules,
all
this is how
know
it goes.
if it was the world number 164 who played the qualifiers, nobody would be the wiser. and they had the
Oh.
same medical anomaly which was allowed in blah 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 6 months, 4 months earlier, so you don't have to take the vaccine, blah blah blah. It would just been water under the bridge by now, done. But because it's him, it's the whole issue is, it's almost like a paradox of the fact that you're trying to make sure that no one's above the law. But it's because he's so big that we're going after him also. So in a sense, you know what I'm saying?
That
Anyway,
is,
I'm pro Joko, and Scott Morrison is
you're making Aryan Khan parallels right now in your discussion, which I agree with.
okay. Fair enough. You want to go
There
into
are, right? Because I mean, like, yeah, no, you're going after people for profile, right? I mean, like, rather than going after people because of rules.
it is
I
that. I
agree.
mean, you can't deny that. It
Yeah,
is that
yeah, I
because he's
agree.
world
I
number one.
agree.
Now, world number 164, who just qualified, is not going to be checked like this.
Yeah,
All right. If
yeah,
he's giving you a medical certificate saying he doesn't have to take the vaccine because he's got antibodies, then that's good enough.
yeah.
Because that's their law. They've
Yep.
not circumvented the law. They
Agreed.
wouldn't dare do that actually. But because of who he is, Scott Morrison puts his hand up and says, let's bring him down. I'm Scott Morrison, the most just since Moses. I told you, the greatest Morrison, Jim, not Scott. No comparison. Jim Morrison, Silverie, well before your time, beta. Don't Google.
Yes.
Don't break my
Correct,
heart.
correct. Sure.
Don't break
Last
my
One
heart.
one?
It's
more?
not
One
doors.
last one? Okay.
No, Don't Break My Heart is a totally different song.
Oh
Yours
yeah,
is LA Woman, Break On Through. Those guys,
I,
yeah.
it goes on and on. The
Also,
end.
Grant
And
Morrison
Riders on
is
the
a great
Storm.
Morrison.
Van Morrison,
Grant
yeah, I've
Morrison,
heard. Lovely. Yeah.
yeah,
Brown Eyed
comic
Girl,
book writer.
very
Yeah.
good. I think Van Morrison is almost same
Oh,
vintage, yeah.
yeah, Van
In terms of
Morrison. No, Van Morrison is older than is newer than the Doors is. I think Van Morrison is 70s.
70s, 80s.
Yeah,
Dawes was 71, he was dead. The three J's,
yeah.
they all died
But,
in
Van
71.
Morrison, I think like Brown Eyed Girl was like late 70s song.
Yeah.
no, I'm talking about Grant
So
Morrison.
I'm saying that,
Do you guys know Grant
huh?
Morrison?
Oh,
Grant Morrison.
We're going to stop it. No, enough.
Okay, Grant
Because
Morrison is a
every
comic book
Morrison
writer,
in the world,
legendary comic book writer.
oh, that Grant Morrison. Okay, dude,
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
talking about music. You're bringing
I
up
know.
the
I'm just
guy
talking about
Grant
Morrisons
Morrison, the
in
he's
guy who
just
wrote
general.
the.
feeling left out. He wants to
Yeah,
show off. He
Morrison in
knows a
general.
Morrison. Everybody knows a
Yeah,
bloody
I know a
Morrison.
Morrison, man.
But
Yeah.
Morris is a Parsi surname. Huh? There are a few Morrises out there. Without the son, of course. Okay, come on, guys. I've got to go and get my antigen test done and then enter another studio and
Okay.
pretend to work.
Final. Yeah, sure.
Go on.
Tarun Kaushik has a question. He says, talking of traffic and a great person stuck on the highway for 20 minutes yesterday. What was the longest traffic jam you've been stuck on road, and what did you do during that time?
My God, death of a religious leader. I remember 3 hours on Marine Drive flyover, the Princess Street flyover. I won't take names. That was just ridiculous. We did not move. Jogeshwari flyover during an MTV shoot, late 90s. They were building it, was half done or whatever. Something happened and we all stuck on that. That was also 2-3 hours. Eventually, we went by train. I remember and they all made fun of me saying, it's your first time on a train and things like that. It was not, it was my second. But yeah, I have memories. Amit? 3 hours, 4 hours in when processions happen. Ganpati in the old days, Ganpati used to be really bad in the old days before they started marshalling it properly. Yeah. 6 hours where? The
from
tsunami.
Filmis from Filmistan Studios to my house on December 6th. Before the ceiling, we had to
Oh,
go through Shivaji Park, right?
correct.
And
Okay.
remember on December 6th, there is
Yeah.
the Ambedkar thing that happens over
Ambedkar
there, right?
Jayanti. Yeah.
Yeah, and because of that, the traffic is insane, and you had no other way to go. That was the only route you
Yeah.
had. 6 hours from Goregaon Filmistan to Malabar Hill.
Yeah.
So that's one
No,
of the
we
ones.
have. That's
My
I
true.
brother's nanny got stuck overnight just last weekend in on so
oh,
I-95 outside of Washington DC. There was snow and everything went to the. So his nanny got stuck overnight in the car. Couldn't get but just stuck all night. So
Third world country.
okay.
I've been saying
yeah,
that. Look at
The
our first world country.
stupidest.
Only
I've
20
gotten into
minutes.
a.
Only 20 minutes. Huh.
I just before the pandemic, like I would say, like 6 months before the pandemic actually hit, I got into the stupidest traffic jam, which is it was inside my own like colony complex. I was stuck in like 100-meter stretch for like a good 1 hour, 1 hour 15 minutes, which was just so frustrating. I can't get out of my
Why?
own colony, dude. It
What
was
was the
just
reason?
some truck was backing up or something, man, and the road is a little narrow, so they couldn't. So they couldn't.
The other thing I
There
don't
wasn't
understand is
space.
every time there's an accident on the highway, it takes us too long to clear. I remember being in Singapore
Yeah,
and the
sure.
driver telling me, sir, we have a 7 minute delay. Why? There's an accident up ahead. And it was already calibrated to 7 minute delay. 7 minutes. Our accidents, we have to get out. Ask the taxi driver, kya dekh sakta hai, kuch nahi, after all that, hours pass, and then finally you pass this one accident site, and you're wondering why can't we remove accidents in a faster pace, in the 21st century? Just get them to come to the
Yeah.
side of the road ASAP. With the victims, of course. Don't leave them there.
I'm
Yeah.
remembering another major one. So when I was 7 or 8 years old, we went to Lonavala. And back then, Lonavala, there was no freeway again, right? So I mean, like the Mumbai Pune Expressway was not there, so you had to do like the old road. There was an accident on the ghats, and we got stuck for a lot of hours. So much so that we found a waterfall, and we all went and were basically how you go and stand under waterfalls when you're kids. We were all going and standing on the waterfall and stuff like that. I remember that happened like 6-7 hours.
Did you get stuck coming back from Lonavala?
No, this was on the way to Lonavala. This was on the way.
Oh,
This
okay.
was on the way to Lonavala.
Now I remember in college we got stuck for like 4 hours coming out of Lonavala, back to Bombay.
Wow.
Good 4 hours and all. Yeah, I just
But
remember.
did you buy chikki on the way or not?
No, we had a lot of chai
How can you
because
not buy-
chai walas come and then they know that traffic jam. I'll get
It's
that.
another world. These guys are young. They don't care about chikki and all this. We're wasting time with the references. Thinking chikki kya hai? This is some Punjabi girl that he met somewhere. This is completely gone over. Silverie, you don't have the curse of the 90s and the 80s. God forbid, really. Okay, guys, I'm off. Have a good day. We'll see you tomorrow morning. I'll be in my studio. I hope to pass a test. Bye-bye.
Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps, please. We beg you, we need you. Send us your questions on Twitter on Cyrus Says In. Or you can email us, even if you're not female, on whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
Habits? Routines? How exactly do they help us get better? Well, to simplify it for you, tune in to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashton Doctor and I'm going to be here to help you get better daily with some simple, easy to do habits that you can easily adapt to your life. So tune in to the Habit Coach podcast from Monday to Friday because I believe that awesome lives start with awesome habits.
Do you wonder why China does the things that it does? Or want to know how we could improve online privacy? Or perhaps you're thinking about how we can kickstart India's economy. If you'd like to search for the answers to such questions, check out All Things Policy, a daily public policy podcast that covers everything from employment figures to aircraft carriers. Tune in from Monday to Friday for new episodes and fresh takes.